Hey, it's Aunt Shazy. If you haven't visited the Rocky Mountain National Park, put it on your bucket list. In this video, we'll talk about the history of the park and some of what you can expect to see, explore, and do during your visit. The Rocky Mountain National Park, or RMNP, is one of the most breathtaking and historically rich landscapes in the United States. Located in northern Colorado, the park spans over 415 square miles of rugged mountain terrain, alpine lakes, and diverse ecosystems. While today it attracts millions of visitors each year, its history stretches back thousands of years, long before it was officially established as a national park in 1915. Before European settlers arrived, the region that would become the park was inhabited by indigenous peoples. Tribes such as the Ute tribe and Arapaho used the land seasonally. These groups hunted game, gathered plants, and traveled through the mountain passes. The Ute in particular were well adapted to the high-altitude environment and had deep cultural and spiritual connections to the land. The first recorded European exploration of the area occurred in the early 1800s during the era of westward expansion. Explorers and trappers ventured into the Rocky Mountains searching for fur and trade routes. One of the earliest known explorers to document the region was Joel Estes, who arrived in the Estes Park Valley in 1859. His name would later become synonymous with the nearby town of Estes Park, which now serves as the main gateway to the park, and a place where many people flock to because of the Estes Park Hotel, the Stanley, that was made famous by the movie The Shining. The late 19th century brought increased settlement and tourism to the area. As more people discovered the beauty of the Rockies, Estes Park began to develop into a popular destination. Ranchers, homesteaders, and entrepreneurs established lodges and guest ranches to accommodate visitors seeking fresh mountain air and scenic views. However, this growth also raised concerns about preserving the natural landscape from overdevelopment and resource exploitation. The push to protect the region gained momentum in the early 20th century, largely due to the efforts of conservationists like Enos Mills. Often referred to as the father of Rocky Mountain National Park, Mills was a passionate advocate for preserving the area's natural beauty. He spent years exploring the mountains, writing about their significance, and lobbying for federal protection. He moved to the area as a weak, sickly teenager to find better health, but ended up as a rugged guide who climbed Long's Peak almost 300 times. Mills' efforts coincided with the broader conservation movement taking place across the United States. Influential figures like Teddy Roosevelt had already helped establish the importance of protecting natural landscapes through the creation of national parks, forests, and monuments. Inspired by this movement, supporters of Rocky Mountain preservation worked tirelessly to gain national recognition for the area. Their efforts paid off on January 26, 1915, when President Woodrow Wilson signed the legislation establishing the RMNP. At the time, the park covered approximately 358 square miles, became the 10th national park in the U.S., and was designated to preserve its stunning scenery, wildlife, and natural ecosystems for future generations. After the park was established, a lot of effort went into making it easier for people to experience. One of the biggest projects was Trail Ridge Road, completed in 1932. This incredible 48-mile stretch climbs over 12,000 feet, making it one of the highest continuously paved roads in North America. For the first time, visitors could take in the alpine tundra and sweeping mountain views without having to hike long distances. Before Trail Ridge Road, there was Fall River Road, built in the 1910s. It was a much rougher journey, just a single-lane, unpaved road with steep grades reaching up to 16%. Tight switchbacks, and only open during part of the year. Interestingly, parts of that original road are still used today as part of the new road, and it even earned the nickname Highway to the Sky. I'm personally thankful for the wide curves instead of switchbacks. During the 1930s, the Civilian Conservation Corps played a crucial role in shaping the park's infrastructure. CCC workers built trails, campgrounds, and facilities that are still in use today. Their work not only improved visitor access, but also helped preserve the park's natural resources. Workers didn't have it easy. They didn't even have access to what was considered modern equipment for the day. Throughout the 20th century, RMNP continued to grow in popularity. As automobile travel became more common, more Americans were able to visit the park and experience its beauty firsthand. This increase in visitation brought both opportunities and challenges. While tourism boosted the local economy, it also raised concerns about environmental impact and overcrowding. To address these issues, park management implemented conservation measures aimed at protecting wildlife and ecosystems. Efforts were made to restore native species, manage elk populations, and preserve fragile alpine environments. The park also became a center for scientific research, providing valuable insights into climate change, ecology, and high-altitude ecosystems. In 1976, RMNP was designated a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, recognizing its global ecological significance. This designation highlighted the park's role in balancing conservation with sustainable human use. Within the scenic expanse of RMNP on the west side near Grand Lake, the Holzwarth Historic Site offers visitors a unique window into early homesteading and tourism in the Colorado Rockies during the 20th century. This preserved site tells the story of a determined immigrant family, the evolution of mountain tourism, and the resilience of those who called these wild and beautiful lands home. Of course, the history of this land didn't start with them. As I mentioned earlier, the Ute Indians hunted game and gathered plant in this area for more than 6,000 years. The Arapaho arrived in the early 1800s, followed by a man named Joseph Fleschitz in 1902. He didn't stay very long, though, abandoning his cabin in 1911. If you'd like to know more about the Holzwarth family that the site is named after, I did a video that goes into depth into their time at the site before it became a national park. Go check that one out later. But if you go during the summer months, National Park Service volunteers and rangers often offer interpretive tours and will let you see inside the cabins. The Holzwarth Historic Site stands as a reminder of the pioneering spirit and the early roots of tourism in the American West. Something we missed while we were there that I found out about later while I was doing research on this video and could kick myself in the head for not knowing about is Lulu City Ghost Town. Talk about a get-rich-quick story that went bust. Back in 1879, silver was discovered near the headwaters of the Colorado River, and almost overnight, a bustling mining camp sprang to life. At its peak, Lulu City was home to nearly 500 people, boasting 10 saloons. Yes, 10 saloons for 500 people, a hotel, and even its own butcher shop. But, like so many dreamers in the Colorado Rockies, the miners soon found out that the silver ore was low grade and just too expensive to transport. By 1885, just a few short years later, the dream was over and the town was completely abandoned. Today, the journey to Lulu City is a beautiful, moderately challenging 7-mile round-trip hike from the Colorado River trailhead just north of Grand Lake. It's a great way to escape the crowds, meander along the river, which is just a small creek up there, and keep your eyes peeled for moose in the meadows. Now, I have to be honest with you, don't expect a full preserved Wild West movie set. I hear nature has reclaimed most of it. But if you look closely, you can still find the decaying remains of 3 log cabins, old building foundations, and even some mine tailings hidden among the trees. It's a quiet, spooky reminder of how quickly fortune can find you and how quickly it can disappear in these rugged mountains. Today, RMNP is one of the most visited national parks in the United States, drawing over 4 million visitors annually. People come from around the world to hike its trails, observe wildlife, and take in its stunning landscapes. Some of the wildlife you can expect to see are bighorn sheep, moose. They are mostly on the west side, and we actually saw one while leaving the Holzwarth Historic Site. And the cutest yellow-bellied marmots, the Pics, they make this high-pitched eep sound. It's so cute. A big draw in the fall to the park is the Elk Rut. And no, I won't hurt your ears by trying to imitate the sounds they make. It's kind of like a bugling sound. Mid-September to mid-October is mating season, and the park's valleys, like Moraine Park and Horseshoe Park, become stage sets for high drama. You will hear it before you see it. It starts as a deep growl and then rockets up to a high-pitched scream before ending in a series of grunts. The bulls are vocalizing to attract cows and warn off their rivals. It's also when you're most likely to see battling bulls, as they clash their massive antlers in spectacular displays of dominance to protect their harem of female elk. Just please promise me that you'll be a responsible viewer. Park rangers have stricter rules during the rut. You must stay a safe distance back, at least 75 feet. A very popular place to stop and take a pic is at the Continental Divide sign. It's pretty cool. The water on one side flows to the Pacific Ocean, and on the other side, it flows to the Atlantic. Want a cool lake pic? There are over 150 named lakes, plus countless smaller alpine ponds, many carved out by glaciers during the last ice age. Other popular spots include Sprague Lake for the Pikes Peak reflection and Forest Canyon Overlook for a dramatic wide angle. Due to its popularity, the park continues to face challenges related to climate change, increased visitation, and habitat preservation. Park officials and conservationists continue to actively work to ensure that RMNP remains protected for future generations. One of the ways they are handling the amount of visitors is the timed entry system. This is designed to manage crowd levels during the park's busiest months, typically from late spring through early fall. It helps reduce traffic congestion and improve the overall visitor experience. Here's how it works in simple terms. During peak season, you can't just drive into the park any time of the day. Instead, you need to reserve a specific entry window in advance. These time slots are usually 2-hour blocks, for example, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and you must enter the park during that window. Once you're inside, you can stay as long as you want for the rest of the day. A few key things to know. Reservations are made online through the National Park Service system. They often sell out quickly, especially for the morning time slots. We learned that the hard way and lost half a day of exploring. A portion of the permits are released the night before for last-minute planners, and you still need to pay the regular park entrance fee or have a park pass. Pro tip, if you enter the park very early, before the timed entry system starts for the day, often around 5 a.m., you typically don't need a reservation. But that means getting there well before sunrise in peak season. But don't blame me if that doesn't work. Overall, the system might feel like an extra step, but it really does make a difference by cutting down on long entrance lines, waiting in traffic, and overcrowded trails. If you're planning a visit, it's best to book your time slot as soon as reservations open. If you are entering from the Estes Park side, definitely stop by the Beaver Meadows Visitor Center. It's open year-round. It's before the main entrance, so you can go in even without a pass. The park ranger we spoke to was super friendly and helped us pick out an awesome hiking trail that was appropriate to our skill level, which I'd consider as mid-range. The Visitor Center was opened in 1967 and is designated a National Historic Landmark. They even used local stone and timber to make the building. Beaver Meadows is one of the best preserved examples of the National Park Service's Mission 66 program, which was a nationwide modernization effort in the 1950s and 60s. There are also a couple other visitor centers listed on their website, but we didn't stop by them. Sadly, I didn't even realize there was more than 2 until I was doing my research. We also missed the Moraine Park Discovery Center. That's open seasonally on Bear Lake Road. It's a great one for families to stop by. All the visitor centers have park rangers available to answer all your questions. And another pro tip, if you have mobility issues, this park is completely drivable from one side to the other with amazing views. Don't let that stop you from going. You can even stop at the Alpine Visitor Center, which is the highest one at 11,796 feet. The parking lot was packed when we tried to go, so we opted to do some more outdoor exploring instead. Also, if you aren't used to higher elevations, bring more water than you think you need. The highest point is 14,259 feet. That's 4,346 meters. It's called Long's Peak, but if you only plan to drive and not hike, you'll hit about 12,000 feet. And if you're not used to the higher elevation, you will feel it. The first time I came to Colorado, I got off the plane from New York at 5 p.m. on Friday, then proceeded to hike Mount Quandary the next morning, which is a 14er outside the park, and I lost my lunch at the top. That's all you need to know about that. But it was awesome. I strongly suggest hiking any 14er you can. Fun fact, the park includes 77 mountain peaks above 12,000 feet, and more than 60 peaks over 13,000 feet. If you're an avid hiker, the standard descent is the Keyhole Route, which is a difficult 15-mile round trip. It goes along steep vertical rock faces and narrow ledges. In fact, the park has more than 300 miles of hiking trails. Just remember that winter conditions like snow and strong wind can happen any time of the year, even in July and August. Speaking of year-round, camping is allowed all year, but during the winter, only the Moraine Park Campground is open. But bring a shovel. The campsites are not plowed or shoveled by park staff, although they do plow the campground roads. Oh, and if you see piles of wood around the park, they are a part of the fire management team's comprehensive fuels program. This is to reduce the amount of flammable materials in case of fire. These splash piles are burned in the winter when it's safer to do so. On occasion, they also do prescribed burns or controlled burns. These planned burns are another important tool to mitigate fire danger, which is something Coloradans always have in the back of their minds, as we've had a lot of them. I have no idea how many fires have happened over the years in the park, but there have been some notable fires since 1900. The Bear Lake fire happened in 1900 and burned for about 2 months after a campfire wasn't fully extinguished. The Ouzel Fire in 1978 was started by lightning and burned over 1,000 acres. The Fern Lake Fire in late 2012 was like many of our fires in Colorado, human-caused. It burned nearly 3,500 acres. That year was a rough one for us as well. The Waldo Canyon Fire happened in Colorado Springs earlier in the year, destroying 347 homes. While my coworkers and I were forced to evacuate from work, luckily my home was spared in the disaster, and we were never evacuated on our side of town. And in 2020, the East Troublesome and Cameron Peak fires together impacted about 30,000 acres inside the park. These are just some of the bigger ones, and by no means a comprehensive list of all the fires in the park. When low humidity, warm temperatures, and strong winds are expected to increase the risk of fire, the National Weather Service will issue a red flag warning. Please be mindful. It's super important to observe the park rules when they issue stricter fire regulations. We've had many summers in Colorado on burn bans and had to forego the traditional campfire for a propane one on camping trips. While not as much fun, it's really important to follow the rules. Sorry, not trying to lecture you. If you can't make it to the park yourself and want to learn more, they offer a speaker series that you can attend in person, but are also archived on their website. They talk about a variety of subjects, such as architecture, conserving the bat population, and more cool stuff. What is your favorite part of Rocky Mountain National Park? Is there something cool that I didn't include? Let me know in the comments below, because we definitely want to go back. And promise me that you'll stay on designated trails, never feed the wildlife, and carry out all of your trash as you go. As always, thanks for watching. Now hit that like button for me and go watch the video on Holzwarth Historic Site.